They don't shout, they don't chase, they don't explain, yet somehow they always win. That's not luck, that's emotional control. You've seen it. Someone who speaks softly, but their presence fills the room. They're not trying to impress, but people listen. They're not trying to win, but they do. This is the paradox of true power. It's not loud, it's not reactive, it doesn't seek attention, it's stable. And in a world addicted to noise, that makes it dangerous. Most people are slaves to their emotions. A word, a look, a message sets them off. They react, defend, over-explain, collapse. But the emotionally stable, they've built an inner firewall. Nothing penetrates without permission. They don't respond to every insult. They don't engage every provocation. They stay still until movement is power. It's not that they don't feel things. They just don't obey those feelings. That's what separates leaders from reactors. And in any situation, business, relationships, crisis, the leader always wins, because while others are busy fighting battles they can't control, the stable one is watching, reading, deciding. That's the kind of strength that doesn't need to flex, the kind that shapes rooms without saying a word. And if you've ever felt exhausted trying to keep up with chaos, it's probably because you've been running on reaction, not control. So let's shift that. Let's talk about how emotional stability becomes a hidden weapon and how to make it yours. You were never taught this. You were taught to react, to fix things fast, to explain yourself, to earn approval. But emotional stability isn't about fixing. It's about holding your center, holding your silence, holding your ground when everything's trying to shake it. Most people collapse the moment they're misunderstood, or when someone doesn't like them, or when they feel ignored. They chase closure, validation, justice, all in the name of peace of mind. But it's not peace they find, it's exhaustion, because peace doesn't come from fixing others, it comes from mastering yourself. That's the shift emotionally stable people make. They stop needing closure. They stop arguing to be understood. They stop explaining what doesn't need to be defended. They stop playing games with people who don't even know the rules. They just stop. And in that stillness, something powerful happens. They become unshakable. Emotionally stable people don't avoid conflict, they just don't feed it. They've learned something most people never realize, that not every tension needs to be resolved, not every silence needs to be filled, and not every question deserves an answer. They can be in the middle of chaos and still not explain. Not because they don't care, but because their peace costs more than anyone's opinion. And when the pressure builds, they don't explode, they don't collapse, they absorb it, and they transmute it into power. That's emotional alchemy. That's why they win without noise. That's why their silence feels louder than words. If this kind of quiet strength speaks to you, hit subscribe, because the next video will show you how to turn that silence into influence. Here's what they won't teach you. Emotional stability isn't about being calm all the time. It's about being able to choose your response, even when your world shakes. Stable people still feel anger. They still get hurt. But they don't let those emotions hijack their mind. They observe them. They understand them. And then they decide how to act, not react. That's the line between power and weakness. Because anyone can be calm when life is easy. But can you hold yourself together when everything feels like it's falling apart? That's where emotional stability becomes your edge. That's where you separate yourself from the noise. When you're emotionally stable, people feel it. You don't have to speak louder. You don't have to prove anything. Your calm makes others question their chaos. It's not about dominance. It's about presence. You walk into a room and people sense you've mastered something they're still chasing, because most people are reactive. They speak too soon, apologize too late. They're stuck in a loop of explaining, pleasing, defending. But when you stop doing all that, something shifts. You become harder to manipulate. You become immune to guilt trips. You become unpredictable, not because you're hiding, but because you're in control. And that's dangerous, not in a loud way, but in a way that makes people hesitate before they cross your line. This is the real win. When your energy says, "I know who I am," you don't need to argue anymore. You don't even need to raise your voice. You've already won by not playing their game. They don't explain, they don't argue, they don't break, yet somehow they win, while others are rattled, reactive, desperate to be heard. These people stay quiet. They choose stillness over noise, composure over reaction, and that calm presence, it rewrites the entire energy of the room. Think about it. When was the last time someone truly shook you, not by raising their voice, but by lowering it? That's emotional stability. That's what makes people powerful, not because they intimidate others, but because they've mastered themselves. They don't need to prove a point. They are the point. So here's the truth no one tells you. Your emotional responses are the remote control of your life. The more people can push your buttons, the less control you actually have. Stable people don't give others that remote. They keep it, quietly, firmly, without apology. And that's why they win. Not always loudly, not always immediately, but inevitably. Because when you don't flinch, the world has no choice but to adapt to you. So here's the real question. If today everything went wrong, completely off track, could you still hold your ground? Not pretend to be fine, not fake calm, but really hold it? Or would the world get the best of you again? That's not weakness, that's training, and it's time to retrain your mind. This channel exists for one reason: to help you build the kind of inner control that can't be taken, shaken, or manipulated. If you've made it this far, you're already not like most people. Now stay, subscribe, because the next video It might be the one that finally rewires the way you see everything. And if that sounds like too much promise, maybe ask yourself this: why are you so afraid of becoming someone nothing can break?